All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic start to the day here. Yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Good morning, Craig, Steven, Ruben, Rose, Topher, Jason, Brian, Igor, and Concord. A few things for us to talk about here this morning, and be happy to kind of break down those here now, right? But not a very busy economic calendar here again, right? We're still waiting for Fed next week. Not been the busiest of week either, just from like a price action perspective, but hopefully we can get a little bit of movement here today. Hey, Marcus, how you doing? So generally across the board, right, yesterday we saw a relatively, in air quotes, right, big red day, but I'm not sure if I see too many actually volume profiles that accompany the fear mongering that I'm seeing on social media, right? So I want to be a little bit cautious still that we're not, like, we see an occasional red day here, like, and that's fine, right? We've seen that price action happen a little bit, so I don't want to be very aggressive or forceful, right, within those narratives until I'm confident that we've actually had that personality shift here in the market. Don't think we've necessarily had one here yet, or at least I don't think I have enough evidence to be convinced of that. A little pullback, a little retracement, short-term sell-off does not indicate a bear market. So I don't want to front run that trend here too aggressively, right? Could happen, could come together, but we're still not being told that we need to be particularly afraid, although we're not being told that we need to be particularly aggressive either. So it's going to be about managing those expectations, right? Controlling those variables, making sure that we're not rushing into anything. And then, yeah, if we're patient and we kind of, control our temperament and we do what we need to do, and we'll find another trade, right? I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what we have to do to sit and wait to accomplish those objectives. I'm going to be unwilling to compromise on trades that just aren't a plus. So if that's the scenario, right, if that's the case, if I have to wait 3 hours for a trade on Apple, I'll wait 3 hours. If I get a trade at 9:32, then I get a trade at 9:32. But got nothing to do with time, right? It's got nothing to do with anything besides me just waiting for every single variable to line up and to be unwilling to compromise, right? And when that happens, then we do very well. If we do compromise or we get used to compromising, then all we do is degrade our edge and kind of cost ourselves money in the long term. And I don't really want to do that. It's counter to what I think makes successful traders. And yeah, not something that I'm interested in doing in my life at all. And all I have is evidence of when I'm patient that I make money, right? My last 4 trades have been wins. So why do I care, right? Why do I care how much action I have? So let's focus on the variables we can control. Let's put ourselves in good situations. And when our process is consistent and repeatable, then our results will be consistent and repeatable. But if we're going to compromise, then our results are going to be compromised. And I don't think any of us want that truly, right? All right. So with that being said, let's start mapping things out here a little bit this AM and just kind of figure out what we want to do. Now, index level, still not particularly interested in any of these scenarios here. So we're going to continue to just watch. Same thing with QQQ, right? Or NASDAQ, relatively range bounds. We're going to watch, right? Higher high, higher low. Not going to put too much stock into that here short term. Apple looks interesting. Maybe this is an opportunity here for like a reversal play again, right, under these lows, bounce off of that 192 area. But this is going to be a setup where we don't want to be very aggressive chasing a breakout here above that 195. We've got a little bit of work to do. So bounce off of that support and then move towards those highs would be the best scenario, especially if we could see a bearish fake out. So if we're going to do this count here, right, it's a 2 out of 3 here to the, actually it's a 1 out of 3, right? Weak candle, weak volume, gap up. So we're not being told that we have particularly strong bearish price action. So we're going to be looking for an opportunity to maybe see or step in where bulls have stepped in before, right? That's that 192 area off that trend line, or potentially a breakout up and over. So that's going to be priority here, number 1. And we'll call that full body bullish. So higher HH plus HL, higher high, higher low. Decreasing volume. Hey Ryan, how you doing? GD, how you doing? VLAD, hope you're doing well. So no indication of bearish trending price action, right? So we're looking for a high vol dip buy. Off of 192-ish. Or a high vol. But the breakout over 195 probably not in play as much. And then what would be the volume standard we want to see here? So we're looking for a reversal. What do we want to see? If we're looking for a breakout volume wise, what do we want to see? Oh, yeah. Had the I'm just an idiot sometimes. So what's the count, or like what's not what's the volume standard we want to see? Bigger than yesterday. Yeah, Joel K, you're spot on. Okay, Tesla. So inside bar there yesterday, right? We got close, but no cigar. Inside bar opening up middle of that candle's range. I think this is probably more one to watch versus one to trade here this morning. So I'm going to say no. Dip buy wise, not super enthusiastic, because now, say if I were to buy a dip buy off of this trend line, kind of mostly have evidence of this being rejections, right? Inside this area. Gosh, I'm so bad at drawing. But essentially inside this area, right? I kind of just see rejections, or I see more rejections than I see breakouts, right? Or more rejections than I see bullish momentum. So if you're like a range bound trader, yeah, maybe you could play like a rejection off of that 245 area back down towards the maybe 230 area, something along those lines. But for me, I'd rather wait for that trending PA to step in. And once I get that resolution, wheat could be in play. Hey, Salstein, how you doing? Yay, Microsoft. Higher high, higher low, decreasing volume. Not exactly a super strong indication of bears, but we're not maybe also very convinced that bulls are particularly strong. Also possibly seeing signs of a bear flag here, right? So 3 points of contact on the upper, 3 points of contact on the lower, bit of a flag pull there. So definitely want to be a little bit cautious. So I'd like to see a clear indication of a bearish failure before I'm willing to jump in here and say that that's kind of been invalidated. So bearish failure, right, would be like a high vol fake out, rejection, reversal, something along those lines. Yeah, we'll take a look at Google at the end. Just remind me, GD, when we get down to our last names here. So a possible bear flag, right? Plus decreasing volume. Pull this down. Normal body bearish. Yeah, fine. So 2 out of 3, right? Without volume here this AM. So we're looking, right, in theory for a high vol trend line breakdown, maybe under 365-ish. But I don't think that's really the scenario I still want to see here. I'm not interested in being very bearish in the short term. So I'm looking for a nice high conviction reversal if I can get one. So if we just go to our strategy docs, right, we know we've got a 2 out of 3 without a volume. Right, so we're looking for a failed breakout here or a trend reversal. Right, because I don't have a bearish bias, even though this is a flag. So I'm more looking for bears to fail here, weak bears to fail, and then for bulls to step in and kind of defend. And I think that's probably more in this range than it is in the like off that immediate trend line. So I do want to see a failed breakout first. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, very similar setup here on Meta, right? A little bit of a possible bear flag. Hey, Brian, how you doing? So a little bit of a possible bear flag, but we're at the lower end of this BB, so maybe that pullback has already kind of happened. Again, I don't have too much of a reason to have a particularly bearish bias. I'm not going to be very forceful in this until I see that distinct personality shift. Until I see that sort of occur, and this is more telling me that this is weak price action, or yeah, it's a little bit of a pullback, right? Maybe a little bit of a profit taking, whatever you want to call it, however you want to quantify it. But I don't have any reasons to be very forceful here, right, to the downside. I don't need to force that trade. That's no, I don't think that there's too much of an edge there. So very similar scenario to what we just talked about there on Microsoft, right? We're looking for a bearish failure and then a possible reverse. And this is a, what's the count here, guys? So normal body bearish plus decreasing volume plus gap up, right? So 1 out of 3 here to the downside. So not a very strong indication of trending price action. And then again, if we go back to the strategy docs, right, we're looking for a basically trend reversal, right? So trend reversal higher in this context, right? So either like an MA cross, a fake out, something along those lines. But I'd like to see basically this bear flag fail. Once it fails, then it's easy for me to potentially play that reversal. All right. To be very honest with you guys, I'm not super confident today's going to be a very, very busy day. But we'll see if price action can kind of surprise me. Okay, Amazon opening up in the middle of a relatively big bar, inside bar. So this is telling me consolidation until proven. Otherwise, I still need to clear that 150. Hasn't really happened. We're $4 away from that happening. So probably not in play here today. Do this AMD. Kind of seems like this could be a spot where you play rejections. Like pretty much all you see above, right, is price action getting stuffed. So for those of you who like playing or fading tops of ranges, AMD looks pretty good for that. But again, not super interested in a bearish bias here. High volume on that 2 out of 3. So you'd be looking for a rejection upper third of that wick. And that's, I would say, like a relatively overreaction gap up, right? Compared to the price action that we may be seeing established. So if you want to see a high vol rejection, I will have AMD on the list here today. Nvidia, not as convincing. I don't want to be buying the lows, or sorry, selling the lows here too much. I'd rather be selling the relative highs. So this is an NA. So how it reacts to news is always a little bit of a bit random. But yeah, you would anticipate seeing quite a bit of volume stepping in if that's actually the news narrative. Like, I don't really GD because, honestly, sometimes price behaves the way I want with news. Sometimes it doesn't. What I will say is when you have a nice catalyst and you have trending price action, then you can get some pretty big pops. But I'm going to be judging the volume, right? That's going to tell me where it goes. So oftentimes news will be priced in, news will be priced out, and I don't feel like I have too much of an edge chasing the headlines. So I'm just going to follow the volume and see if it kind of tells me the same story as sort of the price action, right? So if I see big selling pressure here, I mean, you're pretty high on this AMD, so be a spot where people get a little bit of a relief, you know? Okay, Lily, not in play. Visa, not in play. MasterCard, no thank you. Exxon, no thank you. Oracle, too close to earnings, so I'm going to say one to watch until after earnings, but that's a really nice trend line breakdown. Merrick, higher high, higher low, decreasing volume. Setting up very similar to that Apple, Microsoft, Meta, kind of like fake out bounce. I think. Not sure if I'm super stoked on this. I don't think it's going to give me a more probable look than what Apple's going to give me, or a more probable look than what Microsoft's going to give me. And the spread there probably isn't going to be worth the squeeze. I'm going to move on. Okay, Netflix. Higher high, higher low, increasing volume, gap up, full body bearish. A little bit more breakdowny ish. 450 is a nice psych level. So 2 out of 3 here with vol. Say NA for a bull case. Bit of a bear case here. Okay, and then under 445, 442, 435. So a lot of space here. $12 mapped out. Plenty of space. Could be in play. But I would need to see really good cooperation here across the board. Want to have a little bit of flexibility, but not too much. That's probably not very helpful. Okay, Airbnb, not interesting. Gold, silver, I'm staying away from. It's just not, I don't think it's particularly tradable. I can get rid of these. Spotify, no thank you. Disney, not quite, right? Weak candle, weak gap up, weak volume, so pass. I mean, this Uber looks like it might get stuck at this $60 handle. I don't have a clean setup there yet. Okay, Coinbase, week 2 out of 3. This could be a nice little Bollinger Band reversal scenario. So we'll call it normal body. We'll call it full body bearish. Decreasing vol. So 2 out of 3 here to the downside, and say 2 out of 3 without volume. We want to see a bigger vol than yesterday. EB reversal. No bear case here for me. A win. No, thank you. Qualcomm. Middle of the range. That's a pass. Royal Caribbean. Okay, we got a name here that we could take advantage of. 3 for 3. Sending wedge breakout. Plus, we'll call that normal body bullish. So what's the count here, guys? Yeah, pre-market, it's like 9 cents down. I would say like it's a nothing gap. So we'll call it a bit of a trick question, but we'll call this a 2.5 out of 3. That gap could still go up or it could kind of gap down. And so we'll double check it open. But it's not going to change the type of setup that we're looking at here too aggressively, right? We're looking for either that 120 breakout or a retest of that sort of trend line breakout, or like 115-ish, for a move back up towards those highs. Then main thing we have to be a little bit concerned about here is just the resistance is all the way, right? Feels like so long ago now, but February 2020, right? And then from there, we're kind of going buck along the way up towards like 123, 124. And then we can kind of fill it out maybe towards 130. So I don't need to be super aggressive here. I'd prefer the dip buy, I think, more than the clean breakout. I don't know if we're really in breakout conditions too much. Especially when it's a little bit of an outlier. But let's see if we can get a high conviction move here. Okay, Micron going into earnings. So 1 to watch versus 1 to trade. And I don't know if you guys mentioned Google here. Let's take a look. Oh, huge gap up. Get 1,000 shares. Like, that's not terrible. Like this would be for me. The size of this gap up tells me that this is a Bollinger Band reversal setup. Right? It's like an inside bar breakout after relatively weak bulls off of those lows into an area where you've seen rejections kind of happen before, right? High volume rejections happen before. So I do think this is worth adding today. So we'll call this inside bar. Is there a news narrative here? I'm just trying to see what the headline is here. It's okay. All right, fine. Yeah, for me, this is a great BB reversal setup, right? Huge gap up after relatively weak bulls off of those lows into an area where I've seen seen a lot of sellers step in before, right? So this for me is a possibly sell the news event. And we'll know, right? We'll know by the volume if other people have that same idea. Make sense? Any other names you guys are looking at here this morning? Kind of blasted through that prep really fast. Yeah, let's take a look. So let's start with can't see that first name. There we go. SIG you want? Signet Jewelers. Good reaction after earnings. Good pop. I mean, you can clearly see that there's a path here towards the $100 mark. But that's a big, we'll say, last 2 days. So big volume here. I wouldn't be surprised to see this end up as a day of consolidation. And I'd like to see the reaction around the gap. I always get a little bit nervous when I see gaps get left behind. So that would be probably my main concern there. This is, I'd say, nicer. BBWI, much nicer. High vol breakout there, low vol pullback, and then you break out on volume and hold those Monday highs. I think that's really, really optimistic. You can now basically break out over 37-ish. Kind of seems like you can move 50 cents along the way here pretty comfortably. And I really like that volume yesterday. So I'd say this is a little bit more likely to give you that pop, I think, today versus that SIG. Yeah, let's take a look. Every now and then I come up across a name that I'm surprised I've looked at before. This is one of them. Good breakout here, Bollinger Bands. Relatively compressed bands, which I like. Bit of an ascending wedge breakout too. Right, something along those lines. That's a pretty nice pop. Close to all-time highs here, relative. Pretty good vol. So 3 for 3 here to the upside. You'd either be looking for a pullback, bounce off of yesterday's high, or a nice breakout continuation move up towards sort of maybe like that $64 mark. Yeah, you maybe have like 60 cents at a time kind of space up and over, but good 3 for 3 here. So if you could see that momentum continue, I don't know if I'd have too many reasons to not be interested. Now, I don't know about the position sizing here. Yeah, 5,000 shares. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, good 3 for 3. So if you get a nice continuation move higher, you could absolutely have some joy. If not, no worries. Yeah, gee, let's take a look at Square. For me, this is going to probably tell me a day of consolidation, right? We're opening up in the implied middle of yesterday's range. Bit of a rejection there, relatively fat bands. Big move here last couple days. So I think this needs a day to catch its breath. Not very interested. CVS, a little bit better. 2 out of 3 here. But you'd like to see a little bit of a breakout higher or a pullback, maybe off of like 72.50. But this is a 2 out of 3 with volume, right? So you have trending price action, nice little breakout. A little bit of work to do before you actually get that breakout again. So might need a day or two to catch its breath before it's ready to give you that next pop. And then NCHL, right? It's another one of those cruise lines. Very similar story to that SQ, right? High volume candle there yesterday looks a little bit rejection-y, but then you're opening up in the implied middle of that range. Not a very strong candle, not a very strong looking narrative here so far this AM, but I think we don't have a clear indication of if bulls are in control or if bears are in control. So if that's the case, I'd rather sit on hands and not kind of give away that cash. I think this could be like RCL looks better than this in comparison, right? That should be in the watch list today. Well, right? It's a very similar volume profile, but it's a stronger looking candle narrative. And we're not gapping down into the middle of that range. So I have a little bit, I'm seeing more relative strength here than I am in the Norwegian. But if I look, like if I'm going to go to SPY here, for example, like this is why I think today is not going to be a very, very busy day. We've been really range bound in this price action here last, I keep saying from that Wednesday, right? Like that sort of 10-day period. And we're opening up in the middle of that range. So for me, the implication here from the indexes is that it's a range bound day until proven otherwise. And if that's the case, right, then our best scenario for range bound days is mean reversion days on overreaction gap ups or gap downs. So that's probably going to be the focus here this morning for me to see if I can get that kind of A+ opportunity, unless I see a different narrative from indexes, at which point like an RCL, maybe a Netflix, maybe a Google will then give me that continuation narrative. But I'm going to be relatively patient here until I see enough market cooperation. We haven't really gotten that here recently. So I don't want to front run the trend too aggressively until I'm confident that I actually have trending conditions across the board. So guys, any questions here? Any questions here prior to market open? Otherwise, going to go make myself a quick cup of coffee and spend a minute or two visualizing a successful trading day. Maybe visualizing some non-range bound price action would help. But we'll see how this day shapes up. So final call here quick. Yeah, so it'll either be targeting depends on where the Bollinger Band open here for us. But on a Google, for example, say on this 5 min, if we open up as is, you can't even see the bar, right? The midline's probably going to be like the top line's probably going to be like 132-ish. So if we're pretty far away from that, I'll probably target top line, midline, bottom line, and do the risk reward towards top line first, just because it's such a big move that I don't think it's going to move $5 in one candle kind of thing. So yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll see where the implied open is, how much enthusiasm shows up at the open. That would be the scenario. All right, guys, be back in a minute here. We'll do a quick little rundown before the session starts. All right, guys, so that's market open here, right? Let's see where this morning's enthusiasm shows up, right? So like we said, about 132-ish for that implied open. So on this Google, right, that would be the initial target. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We got a lot of work to do before we're willing to be aggressively bearish or aggressively bullish. We want to see a nice indication of trending price action across the board here today. If I do not have that indication of trending PA, I'm not going to waste my time, right? I'm not going to drain any of my mental capital. And yeah, for full disclosure, I do think this week has been a little bit exhausting, right? So if that's the case, or it has felt a little bit like that, well, I don't want to force anything that isn't there. I don't want to make myself feel more exhausted. I don't want to do any of that dumb stuff. So it's got to be A+ or bust here. I want to control the variables I can't control. I want to wait for perfect price action. And if I have to wait 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, 10 days, 15 days, 30 days, that's what it takes, right? So I'm unwilling to compromise here. We're going to make sure that things are perfect. If they are, have ourselves a little bit of joy. If they aren't, well, okay. Well, figure out what we need to do, right? But I'm not going to rush into something. I'm not going to trade just for the sake of trading. I'm not going to do any of those dumb things. I'm going to focus on the variables I can't control. I'm going to wait for my A+ price action. And then once it comes together, yeah, I'll have some fun. I'll have some joy and we'll absolutely crush it. But I'm not going to force anything that isn't there in the short term. Good volume from AMD to start, right? So those BB reversal setups, maybe the most likely here so far. Good volume at the open here. Pretty, like, across the board, we have a lot of conviction that many of the names that we're looking at are going to give us an increasing volume profile, right? We haven't seen that at the open very often recently. So something like this Coinbase could continue to be in play for us. Now, again, we talked about that spread on this Coinbase a little bit here. Right now, it's not terrible, but it could be. So keep watching that. Yeah, Google will continue to be in play here. Good breakout. Wow. But yeah, I'm not chasing this higher, right? That's too big of a move for me to think that I have 5% of follow through here continuing higher, right? We're gapping up 5%. So yes, could be an outlier, could be whatever, but that's not for me. I'd rather buy relative lows than buy chasing highs, if that makes sense, right? So if Google's going to show us a ton of enthusiasm, it'll probably bring up Microsoft with it. It'll probably bring up a Coinbase with it. It'll probably bring up an AMD with it. And so we want to find the scenario where we have highest probability of success and the best risk reward to actually achieve that successful outcome. I think that might be Coinbase here, potentially. but I'm not positive yet. Oh, excuse me. So coin is going to be priority here. Number one's the best looking name here off this open. Right, volume profile, right? Be hitting all the elements we'd like to see here so far. So target in this situation would be midline, right? We're risking about $1.40 to make $4.50. So $1.40 plus a 30-cent spread. I'm going to go half size here if it pulls down into my entry. Might not. So if that's the case, we'll wait for the 10-min. No big deal. Not going to chase, though, guys, right? Not going to chase. I don't care how much we think it's going to move. Chasing does not pay the bills. I refuse to believe otherwise. Oh, Apple might give me that breakout here. Five, all things considered. Netflix possibly giving me that 450 rejection that we talked about, but I'm not sure it's going to give me that high volume version of it. Coinbase, right? We've not missed out on anything. We got Meta. I don't know if the bear flag has really failed there yet, right? We're still kind of well within the confines of that range. Again, right, if I get a pullback here on coin, it's going to have to be half size. Apple, very nice looking volume here all of a sudden. Very impressive. Didn't look as sharp on the 5, but looks much better on the 10. Still need to see that 195 pop though, right? That has not happened here yet. They go back to coin here very quickly. So 131.75, like that's a big pullback we need to see, right? Like I said, guys, right? Half size play here if this pulls back. Why am I yawning so much? Sorry. Yeah, I still don't have a setup trigger on this yet, though, right? Still very much just consolidating inside that wedge. So for me, it means nothing. Sell inventories at 10. Probably not the biggest mover. Jay, I don't know if you're in here. You're probably the expert on market news. Or like those kind of events. Tesla selling 2. Microsoft little fake out lower. So that could have been the little trap that we wanted to see here. Right, we want to see bears fail. Right, so that's possibly a failed breakdown here now. Maybe not as low as I'd like to have seen it happen, but it could be in play. Still watching this Coinbase though. About $1 to go, $1.50 to go. I'm at my stop loss around 130. Just under 130. Just in case. Excuse me. So yawny today. Well, it's my risk reward, right, doesn't determine my position sizing. My position sizing is determined by the difference between my entry price and my stop loss location. So that for me is about $1.70 worth of risk. Even though I'm getting 3-to-1 risk reward, I still need to be appropriate with my position sizing so that I'm not losing more than 1% after stop loss. And because that spread's about 20 cents or so, I'm rounding that down to be about half size. So my position sizing is always dictated by the amount of dollar risk I have per share, not the risk reward. Apple might hit 195 here. So if that's the case, we want to see this happen on increasing volume. Be a little bit concerned here, potentially, a little bit oversold. Okay, Microsoft fading again. I'll say one thing that I'm struggling with a little bit with this expanded watch list is I just don't remember exactly where each name is in the list or how far I have to scroll to find the name. So there's like this brief moment of panic when I don't immediately see the name in the watch list. Sounds healthy, right? Yeah, makes sense. Like create a tighter one. It's a right idea on coin, but not a justifiable entry for me. So fine to sit and wait. Excuse me, man. $45 seconds to go. Tesla might give us back-to-back increasing volume bars on the 10-minute, which is not something you see very often at open. I'm trying to see the last time I saw it. A little bit of an outlier. Not only once in the last like 2 months. And it didn't sustain. Don't want to see a deep pullback. I don't mess around in the shallow end. And there goes Coinbase making a higher high. So that's a no thanks for now. Hey, Microsoft is giving us a chance for that reversal opportunity here. Not quite yet. We're going to have to wait on this a little bit. But we're on pace to kind of have like a little volume divergence reversal off of that green box, right? Weak bears into an area where you've seen bulls step in and defend before. It looks pretty decent. Tesla's giving me the same feelings as I had for Netflix yesterday, where I want to buy this dip. But not the plan, right? So reluctantly, I gotta walk away. Right? I gotta ignore my gut here to a certain extent. So absolutely interested in this Microsoft here. 2 minutes ago, this is setting up pretty nicely. As is, right? This would be our stop loss location. Profit target here would be midline. So we're going to need a massive pullback here. And then same thing, we need to be careful with the position sizing. So you could do about $1 stop loss here per share. Awesome, right? That would be pretty good. You go full size then. Right? Microsoft full size, 10,000 shares. So you will not have any position sizing restrictions here. But we gotta be patient, right? It's gotta be perfect. I refuse to trade a compromise. Been too good of a win rate here to do something dumb and then sit on that for an afternoon. I don't want to do that. $9.53. What's wrong with me today? Sorry, guys. I cannot stop yawning. So what do we need to see here, right, for us to have both a well, we have a setup here, right? Setup is failed breakdown inside the red box or green box. What would be confirmation? yeah, we want to see increasing volume, which we're getting, but we didn't get the candle shape that we wanted or candle color that we wanted. So this feels a little bit suspicious, although it's literally bouncing right off of our entry zone. Classic. So we wait, right? We pass on the burden of confirmation here. It does feel like a spot though, right? Max pain. You're gonna be patient. Still gotta be patient. I can't trick myself here. Fuck, do I want to? So we're waiting for a 10-min confirmation, right? What I will say, guys, is it should never feel like we're rushing to make a decision on a trade, right? If I feel like I'm rushing into a trade, probably making a bad decision. So if you don't like it, if you're feeling like you're rushed, pass on the burden to a longer time frame, right? Don't trick yourself into thinking it's going to run without you, because that's just your brain trying to trick you into doing what's easy, not what's profitable. All right? And easy doesn't pay the bills. Well, unless you're on OnlyFans. So we need to see increasing volume here. It's going to be tough. I don't know. I don't know if we'll get it. Oh, that last red candle was so close. I had this conversation with a friend over some beers not too long ago, and the question was like, what would be the statistic you died that you least wanted, like you'd least want the stats on? So we were like joking around, like if I were to see what my scoreboard is at the end of life, like I'd love to know what my true shooting percentage is for like throwing stuff into a trash can from like 10 feet away. And his thing, he said like the thing that he'd want to know the least is like who are the girls that I could have had like a relationship with that I didn't have one with. And I think I found a new most painful thing to add to that list. What are all the trades that I would have made money on if I just took the red candle? I don't want to know that statistic. I'm not sure I'm getting the confirmation I want on the 10. 15 ain't giving me that look either. I think we're going to get increasing volume here. So, good decision so far. Reluctantly. Yeah, but this was honestly our base expectation here today, right? Because we opened up middle of the SPY range yesterday, right? We literally opened up middle of the range. And so when we know when we open up middle of the range, the most likely outcome is consolidation, right? Or an inside bar. So this is not super surprising, I would say, right? This is kind of exactly as expected so far, even though it hurts. Excuse me? I'm a disaster this morning, guys. I'm sorry. Do you think this NVIDIA, or sorry, this AMD is a little bit interesting? I think realistically, my target here would have to still be this low a day. I'm very interested in this. Increasing volume breakdown. It's a failed breakout from bulls. Extended price action. Oversold PA. But I need the risk reward. Spread's not bad. 9 cents, right? That's pretty reasonable. Yeah, so you got to be really prepared here, right? Setting this thing up. Coinbase. Yeah, well, it's not giving us a look here now anyway. So that's a concern for another time. Oh, this is a little bit tempting as a volume divergence reversal. Oh, this is where you use the DTR entry zones. Impressive from Disney. Yeah, well, it's yeah, too expensive. Parks are too expensive. It's not worth it. Fucking hell, Coinbase. Game is cruel sometimes, guys. Oh my gosh. Fuck me. Ah. Excuse me. Tired today. John, I don't know if you're in here, but you're getting that low bottom NVIDIA dip buy setup we talked about a little bit. Oh. Reason. Is that 121.03 VWAP? Must feel like it must be. That does feel cruel. Yeah, it looks good. It's good volume for sure. But I don't know what the realistic target is here to the upside. I wanted to see a fake out first more than I wanted to see a push higher right away. The name that's annoying me is Microsoft. I wanted so bad that 367, and would have been a compromise, but it hurts to see it move so aggressively off of those lows. Fucking Microsoft. $10-minute increasing volume now on Microsoft. The big concern, though, right, is too much space up now towards those highs. Oh, just an unlucky. Well, I don't know if it's unlucky yet. I'll have to look at that later. But exhausting price action today. Tough to see things follow your thesis without following your rules. Don't think I saw a legit confirmation candle anywhere. Kind of have a chance for like a volume divergence reversal entry here. If it's the move. Tesla giving me a 10-minute bounce off of the low BB. Might be better. Your target here would be high of day. Like right now, if I look at it like this, all I see is a daily doji inside bar. I don't think I could talk myself into this. But yeah, I'd say I'm watching AMD again. And got to start scaling in, right? So if you're going to be setting it up, make sure you're setting up your orders properly. Stop loss would be approximately 123.20. Something around 122 255-ish. Be a good entry. Okay, so getting close here. 10 cents, right? Give or take. And then massage your way in, right? That's going to be the move. Yeah, it's not in play. I don't have a setup for it on the daily, so like I'm not going to make up a plan for it intraday. If pre-market I didn't like, or you didn't feel like it was a super dip buy day, I'm not now going to rush into that. Well, volume divergence is weak bulls into an area where you've seen bears reject before, right? So it's a sign of weakness into an area where we've seen rejections. So there's my first chunk in. Okay, there's chunk number 2. Okay, there's chunk number 3. Average price about 122.65. Okay, there's chunk number 4. We have 400 shares here on so far, guys, right? Okay, they're going to go chunk number 5 here. So there's 500. And let's see if this thing can break down. Okay, got another chunk in. I want to get to 1,000. That's sort of my objective here. Okay, there's another one. Let's see this thing break down here now. Average price about 122.73. Give or take. I'm just doing that math in my head. It might be a little bit off. I want to get about 200 more shares here. Okay, there's another chunk. Guys, if you don't know the side of the trade that I'm taking, please do not take it, right? All we have here is a bearish scenario. So that should not be a question over what side I'm taking on this trade, right? The plan is right there in front of your eyes. So please read the prep or participate in that every single morning. Because otherwise you have incomplete information, right? So control the variables you can control. The information is always provided to you. Okay, there's another chunk, guys. And I have 1,000 shares here now. And I have about 40 cents of room I'm going to give this. I'll be a little bit careful here, right? About 20 cents. Oh, it's not been the reaction I wanted, though. Oh, I'm an idiot sometimes. What was your average price, give or take, Ryan? I was a little bit messed with my entry. I'm aggressively wrong. Not yet. But I think I'm perfectly correct. No. How many shares did you have? Okay, okay. Oh, like $350, $400 loss, something like that. Okay, dude, you lost 1/5 of your max loss. All things considered, right, that's actually a pretty good result. I definitely was early on this entry. Fuck's sake, Michael. Ah. I'm gonna trading my P&L here a little bit. I'm gonna go patch myself. little bit annoyed with myself on this one. Not patient enough. And the reason why I wasn't patient enough is I didn't have a very specific entry plan. I can talk myself into holding this still, which is not good. I probably needed to have seen a better bearish or better bullish failure. It was just so bad. Sometimes. Why? Giving this just a second. Honestly, guys, I'm being a little bit of an asshole here because I have a lot of space P&L wise. I don't think that's a very good decision, but that's why I'm still in this. Because my position sizing and my 1%, a big difference there. Am I happy with this? No. Do I hate myself with this trade a little bit? Yes, 100%. But I want to be honest with you guys. I gotta get it wrong. I'm out, guys. I'm out. Ah, fuck's sake, Mike. Such a dumb decision. Why did I talk myself into being? Oh, fucking 3 months. I don't want to be short. I mean, I'm out of this, guys. I mean, this is, I'm clearly fucking wrong. Man, we talk about so much. This is the self-reflection point here for me, right? But I talk so much about not fading boring markets. And what do? Fade a boring market. Oh. Be honest, the pain is disproportionate too. Because the knowing I did something stupid, like the pain of knowing I did something stupid that I know I shouldn't do is more painful than the $1,300 I lost. That sucks, but it's not that bad. Like a dumbass. Man, find it not hard to sit on hands until it's hard to sit on hands. Apologize for that one, guys. Honestly, this was could have been avoided. No regret. Fucks. Only wrong, like super wrong. Oh. I mean, look, I think what it probably means, right? That a catch, well, I caught myself there. Okay, broke a rule for sure. Right? Maybe jumped in that trade too aggressively. But what do I think that's a reflection of? And I'm replaying stuff I've said here in my head a little bit, right? How many times did I catch myself yawning here today? How many times did I say that this market is exhausting? And what do? Right? Break my rules. Chase a trade I shouldn't trade. Try to justify breaking my rules because my position sizing is small. Those aren't symptoms of a good, very good trade, right? Like, those are the things you do when you're burnt out. That's just what it is. And I'm disappointed I didn't catch myself in the burnout earlier. Oh, this is so preventable. And again, guys, right? Like the thing that stings, right, is not the P&L. P&L comes and goes, right? That's fine. But it's all the reasons why I took this trade, like why I led up to it. I feel so dumb right now. It's so many things I know I shouldn't do. Right, so like the process of this, right? Like, talked about this the other day. Like, we have to hold ourselves to such a high standard that it's unreasonable that anyone else will hold us to that. Well, I can very with conviction say that today I did not hold myself to a high enough standard, right? Feel like a little bit like a hypocrite. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't bring my best to the stream today. I apologize. Well, the one thing I would say here, Craig, the one thing that I did well was I didn't size too aggressively, right? So I still kept myself within my max loss parameters, so I didn't exceed that. So from that element, right, like I didn't lose more than 1% of my account. That's a positive. The next one, right, is caught myself doing something stupid. So I didn't compound mistakes, right? I allowed myself to make one egregious one, but I'm not going to take another trade here and yeah, lose now. I have another second trade. And I think the other thing I did well is I acknowledged that I feel exhausted, that I feel burnt out, that I am tired, that I am not feeling my best. So, okay, once I made that realization, what do I need to do to feel better? Okay, well, realistically, I'm probably going to take tomorrow off, sleep in, go for a long run, get a massage maybe. But I caught myself realizing that I don't feel like I've taken care of myself very well today. Okay, right? Didn't sleep maybe as well as I could have, didn't do those sort of things. So I've realized I need to get myself back to a base level. That's fine. And what did I do wrong? Well, I didn't wait for a very clean confirmation. I talked myself into being looser with my entry because I had to buy in 100 chunks at a time. I gave myself too big of a buffer on my stop loss where I developed an emotional attachment versus a technical one. And so I compounded mistakes inside a trade, right? So what I'm gonna unfortunately have to do here later is watch it back. I'm too emotional, I would say, right now to give you a very clear answer. But I would want to watch back to what the first mistake was that I did here today, right? So was it a thesis mistake? Was it a entry mistake? Was it a FOMO mistake? And I want to study that point. So where was the first error here today? Where did I get to the point? Now my theory here is I woke up this is just dumb Michael shit, but I woke up tired this morning, right? I woke up maybe a little bit stressed out because I didn't sleep as well. December is historically very stressful for me. A lot of baggage in that month. And I brought that with me, right? So I think the mistake was not being honest with myself at that starting point, where I didn't allow myself the ability there to, I didn't allow myself to, I lied to myself to a certain extent. I told myself I'm feeling fine, and maybe I wasn't. And it's not like in a clinical way or anything along those lines. No, right? It's not that dramatic. But when we bring baggage, right, it tends to only drag us down. And if we don't drop off that baggage before we start trading, we then compound issues, right? We compound mistakes. Fuck, man. Like, the worst feeling in the world is when I am saying I'm going to take a trade and you guys are literally pointing out the reasons why I shouldn't. And there are reasons, these are the exact reasons that I would normally agree with you with, and I'm willing to ignore them. Like, that is an ego-based decision, right? And it's 100% ego. And I wanted to make an ego-based decision to overcome the ego dragging down factors in my personal life. Yeah, no, it happens, Marcus, right? Like it is. I will be fine on Monday, right? It is not fine, or it's not ultimately not a huge issue. Like I'm green on the week here still, but it is just so dumb. You feel so dumb making mistakes you know you shouldn't make. And so if we have to be our own harshest critics, right? Well, I coach myself very hard. And that is sometimes a fault too, right? It's not always pretty, guys. Not always easy. I wish it was. But like I say, my promise here, I will always be as completely transparent as I possibly can be. Going through this is fine. Like, it's part of the game, unfortunately. We all have our moments where we hate ourselves for how we trade. Today, this is one of them. I apologize. I'm very sorry for my behavior here this morning. It is not the best version of myself. But it is not the end of the world. Like, we have to realize that. All things considered, it would have been a lot fucking worse. I had 2,500 shares. So, yeah. What else I can say here today, unfortunately. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, anything you want to go over, happy to go over those things here now. But yeah, I'm gonna go take a nap here in a sec, reset, and yeah, take a break. If you had a one-on-one call here scheduled for today, unfortunately, I have rescheduled that. I'm just a little bit burnt out, and I'm not going to give you guys my best version of myself inside that call. So I'm not going to do that. That's okay. Hopefully you understand. But yeah, too much ego here, guys. Too much ego. And honestly, Concord, that's why I do it, right? That's why I say it out loud here. Because my impulse is to go rush into a next trade, into fuck, my impulse is try to fade AMD again here. I was wrong 2 minutes ago or $2 ago, but I won't be wrong now. But that's just my emotions, right? Trying to tell me to do that decision. So I can't fall for that trap. It's okay to make a mistake, of course. But I can't compound them. Fuck. All right, so final call here, final call. All right, everyone. So that's it for the day. No stream tomorrow. I'm going to take the day off, sleep in and stuff like that. But hopefully a clean, fresh slate on Monday. We'll crush it then. Sorry about this, guys. Not what I wanted to bring to the table today. All right, we'll see you guys all on Monday. Peace.